What's up, savvy expats? Have you ever wondered what it takes to live comfortably as an expat in the Philippines? Well, let's set the record straight. We always hear these claims that $1,000 per month will grant you royalty here in the Philippines. Some even go as far as to say that $500 per month is enough to live like a quote-unquote king. I'll go out and say it. This is a load of complete and utter nonsense. While the Philippines is much more affordable than the West, I will say it's not dirt cheap. And so a solid benchmark budget that I usually recommend most expats to move here on is $2,000 of reoccurring income. If one thing's for certain, if you have this at a minimum, you can 2x the quality of your lifestyle here in the Philippines in comparison to the States, just because you get so much more bang for your buck here. However, I must say, you're not working with a fortune here, so to pull off a successful transition on this budget does require specific actionable steps, which we're about to go over. Alright, if you're watching, you probably know a little bit about me already. Full Filipino, born and raised in Chicago my entire life before I decided to make the move to the Philippines, going on 5 years now. Hands down, the best decision I made of my life. I mean, just imagine, it's almost as if it's a reverse American dream moving out here to the Philippines. Going from cold, windy city Chicago with political divisiveness, soaring crime rates, and an unbelievably high cost of living, to then moving over to tropical weather Philippines. Here, the cost of living is half of Chicago. I don't have to wake up to snow blocking the driveway. Weather is warm, people are friendly, better quality lifestyle, and life here for me is just utterly peaceful. And so if you're anything like me, itching to experience this change of lifestyle within your retirement years, then this video is for you. Alright, the first step to achieving a comfortable lifestyle in the Philippines on $2,000 per month is by choosing the right place to live. This is by far the most crucial part to managing your expenses on this budget so that you can maximize your lifestyle. Because for the most part, most things in the Philippines is relatively cheap. Utility costs, transportation, entertainment, food expenses, they're all relatively inexpensive. And so what your budget will really go towards is your rental costs. That being said, rental prices will heavily vary depending on where you decide to move to. While you can move to BGC on $2,000 per month, it's completely feasible, as I've interviewed several people on the channel who still currently do that. But I do believe there are better cities out here in the Philippines that can offer you more bang for your buck on $2,000 per month. Two of which I highly recommend would be Cebu City and Ortigas City. You already know, I always tout Makati and BGC, and these cities are great if you're looking to maximize your convenience and Western amenities. With all good things, however, of course it does come with a pretty penny in comparison to the other Philippine cities. But to get the best of both worlds, I mean access to Western amenities and urban infrastructure along with a reasonable cost of living, Ortigas and Cebu City are both considerable options. And let's say that you are the type that does like the occasional night out, perhaps a drink or two, or maybe like to shop around. If you're living in these cities, it's not like you're still missing out on anything. As a matter of fact, Ortigas City, which is one of the central business districts of Manila, is only a 15-minute drive away from Makati and BGC without traffic. And you see, a lot of my clients ask me, Evan, how do I live a lifestyle similar to what you describe BGC as without having to pay the BGC prices? And while some compromises are made living in these cities, the immediate direction that I always point them to is Ortigas, Eastwood, or Mandaluyong City if they're looking to live within Manila. Other than that, Cebu City is another great option. Now, really quick, I know some of you are new to the channel and you're planning on making the move to the Philippines. You don't want to deal with the hassle of sifting through countless untrustworthy real estate brokers, wasting months on end trying to get your visa situated, and thousands of dollars wasted running around trying to get the right documents apostilled and also working with the wrong individuals. If you want to shortcut all these learning curves to have a done-for-you service for your move to the Philippines so that you can have the smoothest transition into your retirement, feel free to click the link down below and I'll see if we're a good fit to work together. Now, back to what we were talking about. If you've never heard about Ortigas, Eastwood, or Mandaluyong City, you may be wondering, what are these cities like? Well, all three of these places are either a central business district or a highly urbanized metropolis. Is it like BGC or Manhattan? By no means. But then again, on this budget, we're not looking for BGC and Manhattan prices, right? What's really fantastic about these cities is that you have access to Western amenities. I'm talking a solid range of shops, restaurants, stores, and malls that are up to an international standard. However, when it comes to urban infrastructure and the city planning, this is where you get more of an authentic taste of the Philippines. Aside from Eastwood, these cities are far less pedestrian friendly, and as for the city planning, it's not very well thought out in my opinion. What you may find in comparison to BGC and Makati, for example, would be less greenery, less parks, more pollution, and a heck of a lot more congestion. And then again, this does come off with a trade-off of budget and spending less. So if this is not really a big deal for you, then there should be no issue then. So to wrap this first tip up, be very diligent about where you live because this will highly dictate how you can maximize your lifestyle on $2,000 per month budget. And so I would say that Eastwood, Mandaluyong, Ortigas, and Cebu City are the 4 best cities that balance a budget-friendly cost of living along with having Western amenities. Now, the second tip to live comfortably on $2,000 per month in the Philippines is of course to open up a local Philippine bank account. This essentially comes down to not getting absolutely slaughtered by international transaction fees. Because unless you have a Charles Schwab card or some sort of traveler's card with no international transaction fees, then I'd say that this is a must. For one, transacting in the Philippines becomes so much easier. While this is not very much of an issue in BGC, I do find that some terminals out in the province for cards don't always accept international debit or credit cards. And the second reason you may consider opening up a local Philippine checking and savings account is to pay your rent. The Philippines is still very old-fashioned. It's not like the US where everybody accepts online transactions for their rent and utilities. For most unit owners in the Philippines, unless they're from abroad, you'll find that a lot of them want to get paid via post-dated checks. Because I found that most unit owners out here are very strict with how they want to get paid, even if they know that alternative options will still end up with money in their bank account. That said, one thing that you might run into, and something that multiple of my clients have, is having to negotiate with the unit owner. Some are very strict. They'll only accept cash from one local Philippine bank to another. And you can imagine that this is very tough for many foreigners, being that upon arrival in the Philippines, most foreigners don't have a local Philippine bank account yet. But if you can, try to convince the unit owner to do an online transfer via money remittance apps like Wise or Remitly, or you can also do a wire payment. And so now you can see why, even if you don't use it much, having a local Philippine bank account in your back pocket is immensely useful. Now, the third way to live comfortably in the Philippines on $2,000 per month, which I believe is often overlooked, is to build a network here. How does this apply to your lifestyle of living on $2,000 per month in the Philippines? Well, you'd be surprised as to how easy it is to lose money to faulty services out here that tend to overcharge foreigners. I've seen it with my past clients. Some of them have wasted thousands of dollars trying to work with agencies that can't even deliver what they say they're going to do. And if they can deliver it, it's not timely, way too late. I've said it before and I'll say it again. In the Philippines, it's all about who you know. Join Facebook groups, check out the meetups, go to the happening spots. Because the Philippines is so small, I noticed that everybody here in some way or another is hyper-connected. For example, your friend's cousin out here happens to be related or knows a Filipino diplomat who can have your visa expedited. Something like this, or at least an example of this, would not be an unusual case here in the Philippines. The point is that relationships run very deep here. It's the kind of place where your friend knows a guy. And I cannot tell you how valuable it was for me to develop my network out here in the Philippines. Sure, it wasn't easy. I met with a lot of shady individuals. People have come, people have gone, and I have lost money along the way. But when you do meet the right people out here, it makes a world of a difference. Your to-dos and priorities that once seemed like a painstaking process to be handled all of a sudden becomes much easier within a snap of a finger just because you got connected to the right individual. So although it may seem like a very minor piece of advice, I can guarantee you that this will make your life so much easier out here in the Philippines. And that's essentially what expats go to my services for. And so there you have it, savvy expats. Those are 3 tips on how to live comfortably on $2,000 per month. I will admit, the Philippines is not as cheap as some of these other countries that you see out here like Vietnam. So with that being said, $2,000 per month will not take you extremely far to where you're living like a king. That's why you see that a lot of the tips that I gave you in this video contribute one way or another to either making your life easier, helping you save money, or just to maximize your budget. As always, if you're planning on moving here and you need a little bit extra guidance, we have our 15-step Philippine arrival checklist and the link in description down below. In this checklist, I run you through the initial steps that you need to take for a smooth transition out here. From finding a rental to navigating the visa and banking processes out here, we cover all of this in the guide. And so thank you for watching Savvy Expats. As always, it was a pleasure, and we'll see you in the next video. God bless.